All right, let's roll.
We got everybody? Who's missing?
Yep, beautiful day. First full day of summer, I believe. I think yesterday was the summer solstice, but I think this is the first. Oh, my goodness. What a way to start. Wow, what do you think of the housing? Does this look beautiful or what, huh? What a difference this makes for those of us that were here during the groundbreaking, and for those of us that remember this community. It was in desperate need and continues to be in desperate need of rehabilitation, and we're going to continue with that effort. But the results that Trinity Financial has done here is truly remarkable. This housing is absolutely fantastic. So let's get right to the program. Our first speaker, right after Mayor Walsh was elected, one of the first conversations I had with him was, Billy, we got to do something about Orient Heights. It's in tough shape. Indeed, it was. In fact, he toured this development before he was elected and made a commitment then, before he was elected and after he was elected, to ensure that we did something to improve the quality of the lives of the public housing residents that live in this community. In addition to his commitment, he has also put his money where his mouth is. He has committed $10 million in city funds, and that's my phone. Let me make that go away. Okay. $10 million in city funds so that we can continue with this rehabilitation effort without missing a beat. We'll be up and beginning to demolition phase 2 up on Valor Road very shortly. So a very happy day, and please a very warm welcome for our mayor, Martin J. Walsh. Martin.
Thank you, Billy. I want to just take a couple minutes here to thank everybody. There's a lot of people to thank. I want to thank Billy McGonagle and his team at the Boston Housing Authority. You know, I just talking to two residents down the wall there, and I said, what a difference! Like, oh my God, you know, it's just amazing. And you know, Billy's kind to give me the credit for this, but Billy identified this, and Billy's team identified this. And when I became the mayor, before that I was doing the building trade thing, and then Billy, when I became the mayor, Billy said, we're really going to move forward on this. And I want to thank you, Billy, for this, because without you, this wouldn't be here. Carol and all the tenants, this is because of all of you. And all the tenants that are here, this is because of you, deserving to live with dignity. You basically, you move from an apartment building into a condo. So I want to congratulate you in a nice condo in that case. And it was deserved. Al Caldarelli and East Boston CDC for always being a partner in this community, fighting for housing for folks. Eva Ehrlich and Trinity Financial, who is the group that helped put this together after the fact. I want to thank all of those folks. I want to thank Adrian Martero, the state representative. This development started before Adrian was a rep. He was a staff member at the time, and he worked for Carlo. And having that consistency and understanding in this process was really important. Councilor Edwards, who was in a different role when this process started, and really focused on housing stability, understanding the importance of what's happening here. Senator Boncory, thank you, Joe. Joe picked up where Anthony Petroselli left off, and continue the process moving forward. Anthony Petroselli, I want to thank Anthony. I don't see him, but I want to thank Anthony. Sal Martina, Councilor Martina, Nabata. Now that he's retired, I drove by his house a little while ago to see if I could get something to eat out of there, but he's not home. He wasn't home. He's here. I want to thank you for that. in this, you need a federal partner, and you need to get approvals, and Mike Capuano helping us getting the approvals from the federal government to be able to do this project as well. You need that. You need all of that support. Those folks that I just mentioned, all those folks, and I'm going to mention a couple other people in a minute, but I want to thank them because not having consistency is important, and understanding that as the next person comes in, keeping that momentum moving, and all the elected officials that are here, and all the elected officials that were passed. There wasn't any space between any of them on this housing issue development here that we've done. So thank you. I also want to thank Janelle Chan, the Undersecretary for Housing and Community Development, the new Undersecretary, and Crystal Cornegay. And I want to thank Crystal, and I want to thank the Baker administration for also support, because when you do a development like this, you need everyone. It needs to be a federal, state, and city, everyone working together, because there's something somewhere you need. And we're able to get everyone on the same page here and do this literally, it seems like, in pretty fast. I know the tenants might say it's been going on for a long time. We've been asking for it, but once we got moving, it moved fast. And the development, breaking grounds and being here really quick is great. You can see the transformation just by looking up the wall, out the window here, and seeing here on the street the transformation this is going to do. And it's so important for us to continue to do what we're doing around public housing. It's vital to our neighborhoods. It's vital to our economy. It's the backstop of our housing market, and it backs us up on the belief that about a human right. Sheila Dillon's here, Chief of Housing, and we had a meeting today in the office with some leaders in the housing industry, and they were talking about more home ownership for people to buy homes. And as they were talking about it, we were talking about their focus on more home ownership for folks. Other folks are focused on moderate and low-income housing for people. And then sometimes, not in Boston, but sometimes public housing gets lost in the shuffle. And when you think about what we're doing in Boston is we're working on all different areas, and everyone wants money, and everyone wants the money. There's only so much money to go around, and everyone wants the money. And what we've been able to do with the public housing is important. We're going to make sure we continue to invest in our public housing. And public housing wasn't always represented that way. Too often what happened, the design was poor, the upkeep was neglected, and we didn't have a good process moving forward. And Billy and his team are changing that here in Boston, and they've been doing that forever, quite honestly. But we're making sure that we don't have those mistakes of the past. Today, we're committing to making sure that we do public housing the right way. Orient Heights is a great example of this. It's a partnership where all sides bring their resources and expertise to the table. As I mentioned earlier, the city, the state, the federal government. I wish we had more investment by the federal government. We have federal elected officials that support us. We don't necessarily have the money from the federal government right now to help us with this, but we're going to keep banging away at them to make it happen. The private sector, the communities, the tenants. What we're looking at today is homes where families can be safe, secure, and proud. It's energy efficient. It has better open space. It's growing. Phase 1 replaced 90 units with 120, so we're able to add the numbers. Phase 2 is going to replace 87 units plus one additional home. And I want to congratulate everyone again for making this happen. Phase 2 is advancing because of the sale of Winthrop Square Garage. We sold Winthrop Square Garage, which is downtown. If you don't know where it is, if you went to Arch Street Church, it's right around the corner from Arch Street Church. There's a big hole in the ground right now. And it was controversial to some degree because it cast a shadow, and we're able to work a deal out with that. But one of the things that we said, we brought Billy in because Winthrop Square used to be a garage, and the money from the resources from the garage used to go to the Boston Housing Authority. So that was some operating money they used to get. And then when it got condemned and shut down, I think in 1997, BHA kind of lost that funding source, so they didn't have it. So when the natural thing to do when we ripped it down, I knew the history of Winthrop Square Garage, and I said, let's make sure some of this money goes to public housing. So $10 million of it's going here. We're also making about $2 million investment from inclusionary development money from another development, 99 Sumner Street in East Boston, and we're going to be able to get phase 2 moving here. Another chunk of that money is going to be an old colony in South Boston, the Ann Lynch homes, where when they're in the same boat, where they did part of it and it's not all complete. And that project's a bigger project because it's more space. It's going to be a $25 million investment. So with the sale of a garage in downtown Boston, $35 million is going into public housing, which is important. So we're going to continue to see how we be creative in moving forward. I'm going to stop talking. We have a lot of people. This for me is a great day because it was truly the first public housing development groundbreaking that I did that was brand new. And I remember coming to Sal's house for his yearly cookout the year before we broke ground, and some of the residents from Orient Heights were on the different houses up on South Street, and they were talking about how they'll never see their development done over. And I thought to myself, this is going to happen. And when I talked to Billy about it, he goes, it's going to happen. So we broke ground. We're here today to celebrate. I want to congratulate the residents. I want to thank you for your patience. And I want to wish you well, and we are going to continue to make great investments in this neighborhood and to make sure that the rest of the residents who are living today looking down saying, well, we want to be those, you will be those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker is one of our partners, obviously, in this undertaking here and in other efforts in our state assisted public housing. Newly appointed, relatively newly appointed Undersecretary for the Department of Housing and Community Development. Please, a warm welcome for Janelle Chan. Janelle?
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I've seen the renderings already, but nothing beats being here and seeing the details and the stoops, from the stoops to the actual address numbers. This shows pride. This is what this project is. It allows the folks who are living here to have dignity that we all want and we all deserve. So I want to thank Mayor Walsh, Bill McGonagle, and his committed team at the Boston Housing Authority. I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate the completion of Phase 1 for Overlook Terrace. This project is more than a renovation. It's a reimagination of Orient Heights and this part of East Boston. Together, we are transforming one of our oldest public housing developments. We are preserving housing stability for the current residents while infusing this development with a mix of different residents with different incomes. In other words, this redevelopment will allow more people to be a part of the next exciting chapter of East Boston. The state's significant investment of $32 million in this phase of development is part of an effort to ensure that this booming economy is one which is an inclusive economy, an economy that is offering opportunities for all. As housing prices continue to rise, the Baker-Polito administration has made it clear that we are committed to affordable housing. So the need to preserve public housing units is particularly important, particularly critical. This is one of the reasons why our statewide public housing portfolio of 45,000 units is so tremendous and so unique. This is a bigger state commitment than any other states have made throughout the US. Public housing is an aging asset. We not only want to preserve units, but we want to preserve the quality of these units. Orient Heights is nearly 70 years old, and almost all of our projects are over 30 years old. So because of that, we are working with housing authorities throughout Commonwealth to seek new, innovative, creative ways to leverage public assets with private capital so we can better serve our residents and the communities they're in. Orient Heights is one of the examples of a creative partnership. The first time that a housing authority has worked closely with a private developer to pursue something big, something innovative, something that totally overhauls a development. We've learned a lot in this phase. We've learned a lot through collaborations and partnerships, and I expect us to continue to iterate, to ideate, to improve. I want to see that all these green features here are not just designed to help each household save about 30% in their utility costs, but I want to see those savings realized. I want to continue testing our assumptions and to do more with what we have. So Orient Heights is really a precursor to 2 new initiatives that we've launched. PHO, which stands for Partnerships to Expand Housing Opportunities, invites our housing authorities to partner with private developers in strong markets to explicitly accomplish the 2 goals that we are accomplishing here today. 1, preserve the affordability of our current housing stocks, and 2, help us generate more housing. I'm thrilled to say that Governor Baker and the administration has included $50 million in new capital funding for our PHO project. We've also introduced a Modernization to Independence initiative that provides grants to rehabilitate existing public housing developments. So investing in our public housing portfolio is part of this administration's comprehensive approach to housing. We not only want to try to keep what we have, but we need to produce more, lots more affordable housing for our families, for our elderly. So since 2015, this Commonwealth has invested nearly $600 million in affordable housing. That equates to 7,000 new affordable homes. We've launched $100 million in workforce housing initiative with our friends at MassHousing. This month, Governor Baker signed the largest housing bond bill in the state's history. This $1.8 billion bill gives us the tools to continue making critical investments in affordable housing. So I want to thank our friends, Senator Boncore and others in the legislature who has helped us cross that finish line and make this happen. So in addition to a housing bond bill, we have a housing choice initiative. What this does is not only setting a goal of creating 135,000 affordable units throughout our Commonwealth before 2025, but this enables towns to change their zoning, to enable them to change it in a way that will help us all create more housing throughout our Commonwealth. So the redevelopment of Orient Heights is part of our solution to this housing crisis. So I want to end by congratulating Al Caldarelli and the East Boston CDC. As well as Eva Ehrlich and Trinity Financials. I also want to thank my own staff member, Amy Stiley, and folks at DHCD who've been committed to this project. So I want to end by saying that though I'm not from Boston, most people don't admit that. I can't hide it. I don't have the accent. But I've chosen Boston to be my home because it's a dynamic, welcoming place to live, to work, to raise a family. And together, let's make Boston stay that way for everybody.
Thank you, Madam Undersecretary. Next speaker was here with us at the groundbreaking months ago as the Undersecretary at the time. She was committed to this redevelopment project then, and in her new role at MassHousing has remained committed. She is not only a wonderful public servant, she's a wonderful person and a dear friend. Please a warm welcome for Crystal Carnegie.
Good afternoon. I want to say congratulations to Trinity, to Eva. We were just reminiscing about some of the conversations we were having about phase 2. And last time I saw her, she was not pregnant. I was going to say something completely inappropriate. This is one of those deals when we close this deal, you know how you get to closings? Well, maybe people don't. When you get to closings, there's always something that happens at the last minute. This is one of those deals when at the last minute, we had to do this deal at MassHousing. And so I want to thank the MassHousing staff for all the work that you all did. They got through their closing at Orient without a hitch. And so congratulations to you all as well. And I'm just going to reiterate a couple of things that Janelle said. The $32 million for this project is all bond bill money. Like, we would not have been able to do this without the bond bill, and would not be able to do the next phase and other public housing state-aided developments across the Commonwealth without the bond bill. So thank you again to the legislature for that. The other thing that Janelle said that I think is worth reiterating, people don't understand, like, we are the only state in the Commonwealth that has our own portfolio of public housing. We have 45,000 public housing units that the Commonwealth supports with about $150 million every year. This is a state that's wonderful and welcoming, as Janelle said, for people across all kinds of income ranges, and really do put our money where our mouths is as it relates to housing. Also want to thank, you know, this is one of those deals, again, that doesn't get done without the village. And so my village elder here, Sheila Dillon, we're elders together, don't worry about it. Doesn't get done without the village, so thank you to Sheila. Thank you to Billy and his team for all the work, but especially what we remember, what's nice about our crew is that we always remember what we do this for. It's easy to get caught up in the deal, and it's not enough money for this, and you know, we don't like that design, but at the end of the day, it's about the residents. And we all know that, and we keep our eyes on the prize around that. And we have residents like Carol who remind us of that when we can get off track. So again, thank you to the whole team. Congratulations to the community, and looking forward to phase 2.
Thank you, Crystal. Our next speaker certainly does not need an introduction, certainly not in this neighborhood, and certainly not with the affordable housing community throughout the city of Boston. An old and dear friend of mine, the executive director of the East Boston Community Development Corporation, and a vital partner in this revitalization effort. Please, a warm East Boston welcome for our friend and neighbor, Al Caldarelli.
What do I do? Repeat what everybody else said and thank all of these folks? The issue is that there's just one thing that can't be denied, and that none of this would happen without the input of each and every person that's been mentioned. But I'm going to just take a minute for a couple of personal friends. Bill and I go back 35 years. I don't want to date you, but it's 35 years. And I will say he introduced me to Jack Daniels.
Yes, I did. That's true, Marty.
I continue, he stopped, but what are you going to do? He's been a great friend, and when you really think about getting the impulse to make this happen, it started with Bill, and we really owe him a round of applause and a thank you. What I did tell him before we walked up here, what I was really going to say was, thank God we got rid of the BHA. But they've been a great partner and an ally in getting this project going and moving and the like. Also, Trinity. You know, I know that we're somewhat partners with them on this deal, on Boston East, on Maverick Apartments. But you can't think of them as partners anymore. I think of Jim And I think of Patrick as family. It's people that we've known, that we trust, that we know East Boston can trust. And I think that they bring to this development a lot more than expertise, money, and the like. They brought to this development heart. And for that, East Boston owes them an applause. What I did do before, though, is I threatened Patrick. I told him I was going to claim a sore throat and turn the speech over to him. But he panicked, so I had to get up here. I have a lot of my board members here, and I'm not going to introduce them because I know I'll forget somebody and be taken to task for it. But I was sitting in the kitchen of the chairman of the board, Pat Cordisco, and his wife, Donna, who was sitting here. And when we were sitting there, Donna has a hobby where she crochets, knits, weaves together a lot of beautiful, fancy pieces of what I call artwork. And when I was looking at it, it reminded me of exactly what we're doing here. We're not just tearing down old buildings and building new buildings. We're doing something a lot more than that. When I was raising 3 children in the house immediately abutting this project, at that time, we were those people outside the project, and there were those people in the project. And it stayed that way for years. And it was not good, and it's not good for the neighborhood. What I see this development doing is weaving together a neighborhood and a community. As you start at one end of Waldemar Avenue, and you walk down to the other end of Waldemar Avenue, you see friends, neighbors, good people on all sides of the street. And that, to me, is something that we should be very proud of. We are weaving a new community. We are weaving one East Boston. Thank you.
Well said. As several of the speakers have said, virtually, I think every speaker has said, including Al, the mayor, what this is about is the residents of the Orient Heights public housing development and certainly the broader neighborhood as well. Our next speaker, as the mayor frequently suggests when we're in public housing communities, is the most important person here today. I'm delighted to introduce the leader of the tenant organization here at the Orient Heights Public Housing Development, my friend and the president of the Orient Heights Local Tenant Organization, Carol Johnson. Carol?
Good afternoon. Our Honorable Mayor, Marty J. Walsh, had made a commitment to create 53,000 new units of housing in 2020. Every resident in Massachusetts deserves the opportunity to live in housing that is safe, affordable, and modern. And the first phase of this redevelopment of Orient Heights is an important step forward for this community's residents, set by our Governor, Charlie Baker. On behalf of our residents, we would like to welcome our mayor, state, city officials here today for the ribbon cutting marking the completion of phase 1 of this redevelopment. From the planning, which began in 2008, to developing a partnership, a partnership that secures the funding for the first phase. We are thankful for the hard and tireless work of our administrator, William Billy McGonagle. We are blessed to have him as administrator. I'm a little nervous. For many years, people have called our development projects. As a resident who grew up and worked in our development as a youth worker, I am a proud resident of public housing development and I refuse to give the honor to the word housing project. As the redevelopment of Orient Heights continue, we hope that we will be accepted as a vital part of East Boston, as a community on the accepted as a vital part of East Boston and not as a community on the outside looking in. This has been a long time coming, and the residents who have returned love their units. In closing, I will use the words of our administrator. We look forward to the full restoration of this community in months and years to come. Thank you. I'm a little nervous. Thank you.
Before I introduce our last speaker, there's a few folks I do want to recognize. The head of first of all, our entire real estate development team at the Boston Housing Authority that do such a wonderful job. And Kate Bennett, who is away with family today and could not be here, but please a warm round of applause for Kate Bennett. And I, too, would like to recognize Trinity Financial, Patrick and Jim, both sitting in the background, but they have been wonderful throughout this entire process here and the other public housing communities throughout the city where we work for. They're great partners, and we appreciate all the work that they do. I certainly want to recognize, the mayor's already done that, our elected officials that are here today. I want to thank them, but I also want to recognize my old friend Sal Lamattina, the former district city councilor. I think I said this at the groundbreaking, but the first time I met Sal was up on Valor Road. I think it was 1988 or 87, somewhere thereabouts, 30-some-odd years ago. And there was a pesticide spill up there, and we had to evacuate like half of the development, and we were here for like 72 hours straight together trying to manage what was a pretty serious chemical spill. But we've been dear friends ever since, so I want to thank him for being here today. We started this project while he was a councilor here for East Boston. And our next speaker, Eva Ulrich, as Crystal has already spilt the beans that she's expecting. And I heard, it's not a secret. No, it's not a secret. And her dad, Mark Ehrlich, is here formerly from the Carpenters Union. Now he's at Harvard, my gosh. I mean, if I'm... it's Mark's first grandbaby. I have 5. And I told them, they're wonderful. You spoil them, fill them up with sugar, and give them back. It's really easy. So, to a great degree, certainly we want to recognize Patrick and Jim at Trinity, but the real heart and soul of this redevelopment effort here at Orient Heights has been Eva Ulrich. Please, we would not be where we are today without her competence and her commitment to this project. Please, a warm welcome for Eva Ulrich.
Good afternoon. I want to start off by saying welcome home to our Phase 1 residents, and thank you for bearing with us the last year and a half to allow us to build this new housing. I know it has not been easy. It's an honor to be up here with such a distinguished group of speakers and guests, all of whom have played such a significant role in this redevelopment. Trinity is thrilled to be part of such an exciting and transformative project that is the result of a community planning process involving residents, elected officials, neighborhood groups, and city and statewide organizations. When we first began working with DHCD and BHA on this site, I have to admit that I was daunted by the challenging topography, the massive retaining walls, and complicated financing structure. But as a result of an incredibly dedicated group of public and private partners and an exceptionally talented team of real estate professionals, we stand here today to celebrate the opening of 120 new, high-quality, affordable public housing units that are LEED Platinum. These 120 units are just the beginning of our collective effort to revitalize this 331-unit development and create a better future for Overlook Terrace at Orient Heights. On behalf of Trinity Financial, I'd like to thank Mayor Walsh for his unwavering support of this project. Governor Baker and his administration for their significant investment in this community, and the elected officials, Representative Modero, Senator Boncory, City Councilor Edwards, and of course our friend and neighbor, former City Councilor Salamatina, all of whom have worked to ensure this development and community are a priority for the city and state. We've had tremendous allies in the Commonwealth's Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development and the Department of Housing and Community Development, who provided critical project funding. A special thank you to Undersecretary Chan and to the staff at DHCD, including Amy Steitley, Paul McPartland, Roberta Rubin, Michael Malamet, Balda Winslow, Chris DeVore, Kate Racer, Rebecca Frawley, Jonathan Tambaya, Brendan Goodwin, Margot Leclerc, and the many others who worked tirelessly to ensure this project reached this point and are making Phase 2 possible. We want to thank our friends at MassHousing under Crystal Cornegay's leadership, in particular the efforts of Deb Morse, Dan Staring, Jill Lavacchia, and Michael Karthus, who have been committed partners on both Phase 1 and Phase 2. Many thanks to the City of Boston's Neighborhood Housing Trust and the Department of Neighborhood Development under Sheila Dillon's leadership. The dedication of this department staff has been tremendous, including Chris O'Keefe and Beverly Estes Marjasi. And to the many City of Boston departments, including the Boston Planning and Development Agency, Boston Transportation Department, Department of Public Works, Boston Water and Sewer Commission, Public Improvements Commission, Inspectional Services Department, and the Assessing Department, all of whom have provided a great deal of assistance over the last few years, without which this project would not be possible. Thank you to our friends at City Community Capital, who are providing the construction financing for Phase 1, and to our equity partners at Raymond James, who are bringing a significant amount of private equity to the project. And to our friends at the BHA, we have spent many late nights, early mornings, and sometimes weekends together, working to ensure that the redevelopment plan for this site is something everyone can be proud of. Bill, Kate Bennett, Joe Bamberg, Lydia Agro, Letitia Raymond, Rochelle Sorrell, Beth Lane, Dean Papadimitriou, Wanda Roldan, and the whole team at the BHA are truly exceptional to work with, and I know they will continue. I know they will continue to keep us on our toes as we move into Phase 2. We thank all of the residents of Orient Heights, and particularly the dedicated members of the local tenant organization led by Carol Johnson. The residents have waited patiently through this process for the prospect of improved housing and a more integrated site. And to our local development partner, East Boston CDC, we have appreciated the opportunity to work on another transformative project together. Al, Jeff, Aaron, and the whole team have been fantastic partners. A project as complicated as this one requires the expertise of many real estate professionals, and we are fortunate to have many experienced colleagues on our team. The visionaries at Icon Architecture and Deb Myers Landscape Architecture embraced the challenges of designing housing and open space in a steep hillside and found creative design solutions to do so while maintaining a commitment to maximizing green features and a high-quality product. We thank the professionals at Niche Engineering, Sousa True, Peterson Engineering, Briggs, and New Ecology, our environmental engineers at McPhail and Vertex, our consultants at Fort Point Associates, the Novus Group, and Smith, Costello, and Crawford. And thank you to our accountants at Cohn Resnick and our legal team at Goulson & Storrs, and the many other attorneys who worked so hard on this project. The team at Trinity Management, led by Kate Franco, Deirdre Wyman, Jill Riolis, and the relocation team at Housing Opportunities Unlimited, including Lisa Mangum, Damian Clark, Hannah Jacobson, and Marissa Rodriguez, who along with East Boston CDC have been working round the clock to minimize the impact of this redevelopment on the residents and welcome them to their new homes. When we celebrated the groundbreaking here in December 2016, I said we would be in good hands turning this Phase 1 site over to Suffolk Construction Company, and they have truly made good on that statement. Thank you to all of the carpenters, plumbers, electricians, laborers, and other trades who spent the last year and a half building new homes for our residents. I would be remiss not to mention the team at Trinity Financial under Patrick and Jim's inspiring leadership. Kevin McCarthy and Sienna DeSantis have dedicated so much of their time over the last few years to ensure this project's success. Ken and Bigby, our former colleague Marzouk Mohammed, Mike Lozano, Jonathan Brahmer, Jill Hyde, Rebecca Hemingway, Christine Galgay, Adam Amadin, and Brad Iapini have also provided incredible support. And of course, Sadio Desmond, who among many other job descriptions always works to make every event extraordinary. It truly took a village to successfully complete this first phase and ready ourselves for the next phase. Congratulations to all, and I look forward to being here in 2020 to celebrate the opening of the next 88 units. Thank you.
That ends the speaking part of the program. There's refreshments. We certainly hope folks will hang around for a while. But I would ask that the guests here move up to there for a photo op. That's what I've been instructed to do by Sadio, who's in charge here today. And I just like to do what I'm told. So if we go up there, and please hang around. As I said, there's refreshments. Thanks very much to everybody.
Please feel free to cut. 1, 2, 3.